Welcome to Fun and Games Side Quests. Every episode is a different host sharing a video game they love and why they love it.
Hello, Fun and Games listeners. Jared here from the Play Along podcast, the podcast where we play through games in a book club format. Real quick about me, if you don't know, myself and my other two co-hosts, Kai and Ben, run a podcast where we each take turns picking a video game. We then break that game down into sections and take about 2 months or so to talk about each section and talk about the game specifically. We all have a very wide range of video games that we like, so we've covered so many different games between PlayStation titles, Nintendo classics, indie games. We kind of run the gambit of games that we've played, so there's definitely something that you will love and you can check out over on our show. But more specifically, the game that we're going to be talking about today, I'm like the resident Nintendo person on the podcast. I love my Marios, I love my Zeldas, I love my Pokemon, and the newest Pokemon game that is taking the world by storm right now is Pokopia, which I am absolutely loving. I'm having such a good time with it. Pokopia, if you don't know, is kind of an farming sim, cozy game mixed with Pokemon. Think things like Viva Pinata mixed with some Animal Crossing and having some elements of kind of Dragon Quest Builders and Minecraft, all kind of mushed together in this Pokemon game, which, on the surface, I was extremely excited when this was getting announced, but kind of going into the game and kind of exploring the depth at which this game explores, what it means to be living with Pokemon and the surprising narrative that is present in this game. It is such a good time. So you play as a little Ditto. This Ditto has been separated from its trainer and loves its trainer very much and has now transformed into its trainer, which is kind of what the character or the player character is. You are a little Ditto who looks like it's a Pokemon trainer. You can kind of customize your character, which is a ton of fun. And you're going around and you're trying to just rebuild the Pokemon world. For some reason, the humans have all disappeared, and it's kind of dark. It's like a post-apocalyptic sort of Pokemon game. I haven't got to the end yet, so I actually don't know how the narrative does actually play out. But the world is destroyed. Pokemon centers are crushed. Lands are barren. Trees, grass have dried up. All of that. And it's your job to now kind of reintroduce Pokemon into the world, rehabilitate everybody, grow the trees, grow the grass, everything like that. Which is kind of a cool concept for Pokemon, right? You're playing as a Ditto and you're kind of the perfect vessel to transform into these different Pokemon and grab their abilities and their moves in order to, water grass, cut down trees, break down rocks, punch through the environment. You're kind of utilizing aspects of all the Pokemon that you end up meeting throughout this game in order to continue on this adventure, which again is just a really cool concept. And this game is just so dang cute. It is such a cute Pokemon game, and seeing how the Pokemon interact with each other is something that I just love. There's another franchise of Pokemon called Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, and that is another franchise in which you're playing as a Pokemon. And that one stands out to me just because they do such a good job of exploring that world, right? Pokemon itself usually is about trainers catching Pokemon, going through gyms, doing battles. And while someone that is a Pokemon fan, while I love that kind of gameplay, exploring what it means to be a Pokemon and if Pokemon could talk and interact with each other, what that would look like. And that alone really helps flesh out this world and make this world feel like it's lived in. I think I said this on our show, and I've said this a couple times on socials, but I think Pokopia might be my favorite game on the Nintendo Switch. Maybe my favorite Pokemon game. I don't know if that's, yet to be seen, but with a franchise that has been going for 30 years at this point, and more or less kind of doing the same thing. You're battling and if they've thrown little wrenches in mega evolutions and different battle mechanics and battle gimmicks that have change that just a bit, but ultimately it's the same game. It's nice getting things like Mystery Dungeon. It's nice getting things like Pokopia that kind of change up that formula. Again, going into kind of the gameplay and how this game works is I had mentioned Viva Pinata before, and the comparison to that is in Viva Pinata, again, you're creating these ideal little habitats in order to draw in your different creatures, and that's exactly how Pokopia works. You're creating these idealistic environments for each of these Pokemon, and as you're creating all of them, different Pokemon will spawn depending on if it's a bunch of grass, or it's a tree mixed with grass, or it's a punching bag and a bench. Mixing kind of these different natural environments and even some non-natural ones too, and again creating these environments for Pokemon and creating their ideal living habitats is so fun. And not only that, but it helps create this world that you're living in, because as you're creating these environments for Pokemon, you can also kind of create and build the world that you want it to be. I spent so much time just in this beginning area creating and terraforming it to be something that I wanted to look like, creating bridges and building houses for Pokemon. And one thing that I hadn't realized was this game is also significantly larger than I thought it was going to be, right? The beginning area is already like decent, quite sizable, but you learn later on that there is different branches and different biomes that you can go to that give you different abilities, that give you different Pokemon that you can run into that can help out with tasks like cutting wood or cutting grass, or contribute to different tasks on this kind of island that you're living on. And that's, again, it's really cool to kind of subvert that expectation of, I think when a lot of people see this, they'll think Animal Crossing, and New Horizons is obviously the most recent Animal Crossing game. And imagine if there was like your Animal Crossing island, you had that full island, and then you had maybe 5 or 6 other islands that attach to your existing island that you can go to, and all of them have different biomes, have different villagers that you can find. That's kind of what Pokopia is. And I've seen a lot of people compare this to something like Animal Crossing, and how this just builds off of that formula so much. So if you're someone that already does love Animal Crossing, Pokopia is kind of a perfect next step for you. As someone that's a longtime fan of Pokemon, my favorite thing about this game is seeing people either jumping into Pokemon for the first time, or jumping in after taking a long hiatus from the game and seeing some new Pokemon that they've never seen before and introduce themselves to new favorites. And it just warms my heart. It's cool that we have a game like this that it feels like it's pretty accessible to anybody. Obviously, you have to like the genre. It is a quote unquote cozy game, although even that moniker is something that is specific to the person. There is a lot of tasks you have to do, and the game holds your hand, and at the same time doesn't tell you how to do other aspects of the game that are equally as important and confusing why they wouldn't. So I know for some people that kind of game loop can be a little bit stressful, but at the end of the day, it is a cozy game for me, and a game that I take at my own pace, because there's already a lot of people out there that are like, oh, here's the 10 top things you should do in Pokopia before you start, and here's this, and here's these tips and tricks. And while that's helpful, ultimately you should just create your own fun, which is what I've been doing, right? I've been building in the beginning area, I've been branching off and doing some of the subsequent biomes that are around it. But at the end of the day, I've been just enjoying the game, which has been a ton of fun. And again, Pokemon is something that has been not the same, but kind of. And with things like Scarlet and Violet recently, that the quality and the lack of just charm that the game has, right? Pokemon, I feel like, is a franchise that started off that way, of just having this whimsical charm to it. And things like Scarlet and Violet felt like it was not only missing that in its world building, but it also ran awful and looked terrible too. And so when this game comes out, with Pokopia is here, and it's a beautiful game, and you could tell that there is love and care, dedication to this franchise, with nods to older Pokemon games and little things here and there, references. You can see there's a lot of love and care that goes into Pokopia. And while it is different gameplay-wise to something like the traditional games, it's still more than probably most of the Switch games I played, it has that love. And it wasn't even developed by the Pokemon company. It wasn't even developed by Game Freak, which is crazy. I mean, they probably had some collaboration. They had their hand in developing parts of it too, but mostly it was the team that did, I'm blanking on the name of them, but it was the Dragon Quest builders team that ended up playing this. But Pokopia is a good time. It's fun, it's cute, it's adorable, it's surprising, it's dark. It's weirdly dark. Again, I haven't gotten through the story, but just the idea of what the world was like beforehand, you'll go through and you'll get little journal entries to the world that existed before this. And you can kind of see that people were kind of preparing for the worst, that things weren't going so well up until we got to this location. And that is an interesting take for a Pokemon game, because that's not usually the route that they go. I mean, Pokemon is not without its world-ending events and legendary Pokemon that are here to reshape the world or start a new universe, but Pokemon more or less avoids these kind of topics in their game, so it's really cool and really interesting and helps motivate progression, right? Finding out what's happening in this world is a big proponent in just continuing the narrative. Sure, you're building cozy houses for your Pokemon, but you're also trying to solve this mysteries. There's also a little intrigue with the narrative there, which I really love and I really appreciate. Again, I attribute a lot of these feelings to things like the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon franchise. And if you've played Mystery Dungeon, which is another spin-off of the Pokemon games, the narrative feels similar in that, where it starts off looking cute and seeming a certain way, and I think is going to take a different direction, but in general it's just a different take for Pokemon, and that's refreshing. I think at the end of the day, as someone that's been playing Pokemon since I was probably 5 years old, refreshing is a great moniker for this, because it just is like, oh, it's fun to see new Pokemon things, and I love that. Again, I think everyone can like Pokemon Pokopia. Obviously, the problem being on the Switch 2, but I honestly think that this will sell Switch 2s. I bought a Switch 2 because of Pokopia, and I think a lot of people are in the same boat. But it is a very good time, and I think you should try it out. I think you should play it, whether you've liked Pokemon for the last 30 years or whether you are a brand new person and have never even heard of Pokemon before. I think there's parts of this game that you will enjoy. But with that, everybody, happy gaming.
Do you feel like you're the only person in your circle who wants to go deep about video games regularly?
We were like that too, until now.
Welcome to Crossplay Conversations, the brand new bi-weekly topical video game podcast from Luke Lewis,
Joseph Hooper,
and Jacob McCourt.
With many years of breaking it down separately on shows like the Left Behind Game Club, Player Podcast, and Lukewarm Games, the gang is finally coming together to publish their gaming group chat in audio form every other week.
Expect roundtable reviews of the latest games, profiles of upcoming indies, and insightful conversations about essential topics in the video game industry. All with a mostly positive, insightful, and fun style.
Crossplay Conversations debuts on August 1st with brand new episodes hitting every other Tuesday. Help us out by subscribing on your podcast platform of choice to get the first episodes delivered straight to your feed.
And follow us on Twitter at Crossplay Convos for updates about the show.
Cheers and happy gaming.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.